Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So today, I want to talk about Bitcoin. What's going on with Bitcoin? What should we expect this week? There's some big economic data that's coming out this week. So let's talk about it. And also, of course, let's talk about big Bitcoin bull. One of the biggest Bitcoin bulls out there, Michael Saylor, calls Ethereum an obvious security. Now, he says some interesting things, and his prime example of why he thinks Ethereum is security, I think, is very flawed. And I'm going to go over why I think it's flawed. But before I get to that, let's get to it. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that notification bell to get notified of all my streams. Follow me on social media. Check out CryptosRUs.com. And make sure you follow the brand new Clips channel. Good morning, guys. Good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me fix my screen here. There we go. And right now, Bitcoin is slightly under 21,000. So it did come back down a little bit. But overall, we are still moving in the right direction. And this week, it'll be interesting. This week, we get some economic data that could swing markets one way or another. So on Wednesday of this week, we will get hot inflation data. That's what everyone is looking at. Last 2 weeks have been pretty good for U.S. markets. And that's because Wall Street traders are getting used to the fact that, yeah, we're going to get a 75 basis point hike. You know, not a big deal anymore. It's been priced in. Our earnings reports haven't been absolutely horrible. You know, expectations are being lowered. So things are looking better. But this week, on Wednesday, we will get two pieces of data. One is CPI, which is it's the one piece of data that everyone looks at in terms of U.S. inflation. Is inflation going to go up? Right? Many think it will, from 8.6% to 8.8%. Now, that's considered headline inflation. However, core inflation is expected to go down. Now, the reason why headline inflation is expected to go up is due to energy prices, rising energy prices like oil, right? And this is measuring, of course, what happened last month. But we know this month oil started coming down a little bit, so could be temporary. But overall, people will be looking at both of these data and see whether or not inflation is going to get better. Did we peak? Are we coming down? And if so, then the Fed, whatever they're doing is working. Or you could say, well, energy prices start coming down and supply chain issues are getting better. So it really depends on what you're looking at and everything you put it together, right? So could be a very good week, bad week, or maybe it just continue slow and steady rises for the remaining of this week. We will see. But Bitcoin is holding strong and continuing upwards, just like what we want to see, right? And then also, what else is there? There's a few other little things I saw. Oh, this one, just a really good graphical representation of inflation going back to January 2020 till now. This is about a minute long, but it's worth watching. Let me play this. There's really no sound or anything, but actually there is sound. Let me see if I can play sound. Let me play this. There's really no sound or anything. So in 2020, oil and gas. Take a look at oil and gas. Very, very low. There's really no sound. Right? Nah, I'm gonna get rid of sound. It's too loud. So actually, energy in 2020 was fantastic. It was very low. Oil and gas low, and then in 2021, you could see, whoa, prices started going up, and that's when, yeah, take a look at gas and oil. And everything else, butter and cheese somehow was very, very strong in 2021. And now, ooh, they're all getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. With the exception of orange juice for some reason. I guess we planted a whole bunch of oranges. So orange juice is actually at negative 30%. But take a look. Gas price is up 233%. Oil's up 77%. Wheat, corn, everything else. Hey, this just flaked out on me. It's not good. So this is a good graphical representation of inflation and what that really looks like when it comes to food and things that we need, right? So yeah, that's why That's why the Fed is so aggressive right now in trying to bring inflation down, because if this continues, there'll be many, many people that won't be able to afford anything anymore. All right, so there's that. Also, according to the recent bankruptcy filing from 3AC, it looks like the two founders, Suzu, and there's another person, Kyle Davis, they're rumored to have fled, and no one knows where they are anymore. All right, so that's unfortunate. Remember, I covered a story about how there was a 40-something plus million dollar residence being liquidated or being sold quickly in Singapore, probably because Suzu wants to escape and run off with the money. But it seems like they don't know where they are right now. They haven't been able to find them. And up until April 2022, they still had $3 billion in assets, although people are looking at, well, if you figured how much they borrow from everyone else, in total they borrow about $2 billion, which means they only really have $1 billion. So what happened to all the other billions, right? Gone. Don't know, right? Just pretty much gone. But anyways, this Three Arrows Capital thing is just looking worse and worse and worse, which is why, unfortunately, when it comes to Voyager, I said, you're probably not going to get anything from Three Arrows Capital. Because they said they're going to repay people with what they recover from Three Arrows Capital. Most likely it's going to be zero. I mean, at this point, it just seems like they have zero left in the bank right now. And the founders have fled, so I don't even know what they're going to do with the company. But anyways, that's the latest. All right. Now getting to the interesting thing, the meat and potato of today's video, which is really about Michael Saylor. And you guys know I really like Michael Saylor, obviously, because he's one of the biggest Bitcoin bulls out there, has continued to stay strong, has not deviated from his Bitcoin stance. But he did recently go on Altcoin Daily Show, and, the guys asked him about Ethereum. And Michael Saylor in the past have really not said anything bad about Ethereum or any other altcoin, other than he believes that regulators and regulations, right, may hinder them quite a lot, maybe shut down a lot of them because they're considered security, but really not really on the attack, has always just concentrated on Bitcoin. But this interview, it seems like a little bit different. Not that he's really attacking Ethereum, but he's labeling it obviously a security, and he explains why he feels it's a security. Now, there may be some question. The SEC previously, the previous director already declared Ethereum was a non-security, that it was a commodity. Recently, the current SEC director, Gary Gensler, he said, well, I can only comment that Bitcoin is a commodity. So he left out Ethereum, even though his own agency already declared it was a non-security. Maybe part of that is due to the fact that Ripple is trying to get those case files from the SEC to prove that they're not a security. So that could play into why he wasn't commenting. But I think the biggest thing is, well, there's a couple things. Let me play this first for you guys. I want you guys to listen to it, and then I'll give my thoughts on this and why I feel like Michael is off on his take. So let me get this ready. Let me play this. All right.
With regard to Ethereum, I think Ethereum's a security. I think it's pretty obvious it's a security. It was issued via an ICO. There's a management team. There's a pre-mine. There's a hard fork. There's there's continual hard forks. There's a difficulty bomb that keeps getting pushed back. The difficulty bomb is going to wipe out the entire ETH mining industry. It's going to obliterate it, murder it, okay? The fact that somebody is able to murder an entire industry and then they keep changing their mind every 6 months about whether to do it or not do it is indicia that it's a security and not a commodity.
Okay, real quick, just want to make a quick comment about it. And he goes on more, right? But, he refers to development teams as management teams, okay? So I think he purposely did that because he wanted to make it seem like it's more corporate. Ethereum has hundreds of teams out there, okay? They're development teams. And, he mentions about how the difficulty bomb can kill the entire industry. Well, it was, first of all, voted upon. And second of all, the difficulty bomb is not going to kill Ethereum. It's meant to drive people to proof of stake, which is their new direction, right? So no, it's not implemented to kill Ethereum, which I think Michael kind of made it sound like it was, right? So there's a couple things right off the bat I don't think Michael quite understands, but let's continue on.
For it to be a commodity, there can't be an issuer. And the truth is, you can't really make decisions. I mean, one of the fundamental insights in the crypto industry is the fact that you can change it is what makes it a security. So if you look at most of these cryptos where they have hard fork after hard fork after hard fork, the problem with a hard fork is it changes.
Oops, I realized I wasn't showing the clip. Hold on. I don't know if I need to replay that. Hold on. I changed my screen.
For it to be a commodity, there can't be an issuer. And the truth is, you can't really make decisions. I mean, one of the fundamental insights in the crypto industry is the fact that you can change it is what makes it a security. So if you look at most of these cryptos where they have hard fork after hard fork after hard fork, the problem with a hard fork is that changing the protocol means that some development team is making a decision. And if you can change the protocol in a material way, you can change the monetary protocol, right? A hard fork can change the issuance pattern or can change the value of something. And so that makes an investment contract under securities law. And that means it passes the Howey test. So what you want is a completely decentralized protocol where nobody can change it.
Okay, I'm just gonna stop right there. So I think I don't think that he's wrong about the Howey test, but one thing's for certain. Michael seems to think that Bitcoin has never changed, and that somehow with Ethereum, decisions are made without having people vote on it, like it's a dictatorship, and somehow Ethereum just couldn't just do it. So of course it's security. Well, this is why I disagree, because I think Michael clearly does not know that Bitcoin has gone through upgrades as recent as this year. And in 2017, they had a big one, SegWit, which is a big upgrade for Bitcoin, right? And this is the reason why Bitcoin Cash actually hard forked, because Roger Ver and Jihoan Wu didn't like SegWit, thought that this was the wrong decision, and that's why they hard forked. So yeah, Bitcoin hard forks, but they're not, unless they're voted upon and agreed upon by the miners, anyone can hard fork anything. Okay, that's the whole point of open source. You can hard fork Bitcoin as many times as you want, but unless the miners accept it as the true chain, as the true upgrade, no one cares, right? So there are hard forks of Bitcoin, first of all, because Michael was saying hard forks are bad. But there are upgrades. There have been, right? And the upgrades are proposed by developers, and in case of Bitcoin, there's a core developers. There's 3 guys. It's kind of like the core developers right now, but there's many thousands others that can upgrade the code and propose it if they wanted to, right? So when SegWit was introduced, a whole bunch of miners didn't like it, okay? But eventually they came around and they voted upon, and basically they showed their support for it. And as recently as, I misspoke, not this year, but last year, Bitcoin welcomed another big upgrade, Taproot, right? And that was voted upon by the miners. In fact, 90% of the miners said, yes, we liked it. That's why it got voted in. So this argument that if you could somehow change if you could upgrade the network, that's not a valid thing, because Bitcoin has been upgraded many times over the years. And yes, the miners do get a vote, just like with proof of stake, just like with any other altcoin out there, right? There's a vote. It's not just mandated. So when it comes to Ethereum, if Vitalik says, oh, I want to implement a difficulty bomb, right? It's not like he just says it and it goes. All the miners out there have to vote on it, and they say, okay, we agree, because we agree with the path of Ethereum and how it's going to move to proof of stake. And that's why we want this to happen. It's a voting process. This is why it's decentralized. The voting process is decentralized. It doesn't come down to one person, right? And it's the same thing with Bitcoin. So again, Michael Saylor's argument that Ethereum is security because it could be changed, because because it could be upgraded and changed, that makes it security. That's not a good argument, because if that's the argument, then you could argue Bitcoin is a security too. So that's not right. So as for Bitcoin development, right? Bitcoin is open source. Anyone can look at the code. Anyone could contribute to the code, right? But again, it's a consensus. People have to vote and agree upon it. They have to say, yes, we acknowledge, and the miners have to also agree and say, okay, we're going to upgrade our mining software to support this new code. Because even if the core developers and everyone in the community say, yes, this is what we want to do, if the miners say no, then it doesn't go into effect, right? So there's a relationship there. Again, involves a consensus of the people and everyone else that's involved with it, right? So yeah, that's the thing that I really disagree with Michael, because I don't think he realized, because Michael came in when Bitcoin was I think in 2020, when Bitcoin was hovering around 10,000 or so. I think he missed a lot of the stuff that happened previously, and he doesn't quite understand it. But as for Ethereum being a security, I could say that if you argue Ethereum had an ICO, Bitcoin didn't, okay? That's a valid point. They did have an ICO back in the day. So when it comes to securities, if you offer a security token offering and it was unregistered, yeah, that's a no-no, right? So I could see how that is a valid point. But the point about it being, about it being upgraded and can't be changed and all that stuff, that's not a valid argument. And, Michael Saylor is saying, well, you can't change a monetary perspective. Like, for example, for Bitcoin, 21 million mined, right? That is the limit, 21 million. Not to say this will ever happen, but if somehow every single Bitcoin miner out there and all the core developers out there and everyone else in the world one day decided that Bitcoin should up its limit from 21 million to 40 million or to 200 million, and everyone agreed, that can be changed. It's not like it can't be changed. It's very, 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 very unlikely, because no one would vote on it. But if one day everyone wanted to, it could happen. It's not set in stone, right? So just to throw that out there. Yeah. Okay. So I want to lead off with that. I saw Altcoin Daily guys in here, so thanks for interviewing Michael. Maybe I'll interview him one day if he wants to come on the channel, but there are certain things that I think he's just not educated on. That's all. And let's not forget, Lightning Network. Lightning Network didn't exist at the beginning. Lightning Network is a relatively new invention. It's a layer 2 that helps, of course, Bitcoin scale, right? It's built that so it has its own nodes. Some people argue Lightning Network is not as decentralized as Bitcoin because there's not as many nodes out there running, right? But this is a fairly new invention too that has been integrated pretty well with Bitcoin. So again, do you count this as a change? Sort of, right? So again, just because something evolves doesn't mean that it's a security, right? There you go. All right. Now, as for Ethereum itself, besides the fact that, I don't think, I don't think it's a security, but maybe you could argue that, right? But regardless, in terms of ETH 2.0, in terms of people that want to see it move to proof of stake and off proof of work, right? The number of deposits have reached all-time high, just keeps going up and up and up. People really, really like to stake their ETH right now and earn that interest, but just keep in mind, if you do, you can't take it out until the merge happens, right? So that's still a couple months, but the number of people that are staking is getting higher and higher and higher. So that's pretty good. Number of non-zero addresses for Ethereum also reached all-time high. It's pretty linear climb. So that's looking fantastic. The amount of ETH that hasn't moved within 5 to 7 years, all-time high, keeps going up. It's I don't even know how long Ethereum's been out, since 2014, I think. Yeah, so it's been a while. Right? But yeah, so there's good things about Ethereum right now. It's one of the stronger ones, one of the big caps out there. And there's a lot of great metrics that support its holders, its growth, and ultimately why I think it'll continue forward. But as for Bitcoin, you got some really good metrics too. I mean, I just talked about Lightning Network, fairly new development, but it's been growing by leaps and bounds. In fact, in 1 year, there has been a 2.4x increase in capacity, right? So it definitely shows a ton of people now locking in their Bitcoin in the Lightning Network to help the capacity. And there's more and more people that's also using the Lightning Network as more wallet makers and exchanges support it, right? The usage is growing. So this is something that's fantastic, part of growing fundamentals of Bitcoin, right? Number of addresses holding at least one Bitcoin is skyrocketing right now. Of course, during this time, there's a lot of people taking advantage, stacking sats, buying the dip, DCAing. That's why from it goes from like 0.01, 0.1 to 1, all increasing. People are taking advantage of where Bitcoin is right now, right? And there's a couple other things, for example, like this. If you look at the reserve risk indicator, all-time low. There's a lot of metrics like this, and you could see how low it is, basically showing people's confidence, right, in Bitcoin. And whenever you have a lot of newcomers come in and they leave, right, there's a lot of fear, but this shows you that there are a lot of holders out there that is very, 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 very confident about Bitcoin, and they're not going to give up no matter what. Ultimately, that's what we want to see. All right, that is pretty much it. You know what? We got some big data, inflation data that's coming this week. We got a lot of good stuff still happening in the space. We got some bad stuff we still need to get past, like Three Arrows Capital and Celsius and Voyager and everyone else out there, right? But stick with Bitcoin. And I would argue stick with Ethereum. Don't give up on Ethereum. All right, let's do some Q&A. All right. Let's see if I missed anything. Jarno said, Saylor on Cardano. Even tech doesn't chance that it is security. He gave respect. I'll have to see that. I didn't see that. I didn't catch that. But if he gave respect to Cardano, that's pretty big. But I haven't seen Saylor give respect to any altcoins. Andy, welcome. Hey, George, I'm in Canada at the moment, visiting from New Zealand. Still follow you every day. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Yeah. The one thing, and I'm not saying Saylor is one of these people, but you see a lot of Bitcoin maxis that like to attack Ethereum because they feel like Ethereum is taking away from Bitcoin, right? Like somehow Ethereum, if Ethereum wasn't around, that Bitcoin would be much, I guess, much higher or bigger or whatever, right? But if you're a Bitcoin maxi, you should not be afraid of anything, right? Like if you truly believe in Bitcoin, no one's forcing you to buy Ethereum or anything else, right? Continue to hold Bitcoin. And I do believe Bitcoin is the only coin that will survive 20, 30, 50 years. Everything else, longevity, you don't know, right? It's just like tech companies. Some of them do very well at the beginning and then they fail, right? I see all altcoins basically outside of stablecoins, like tech companies. Some will survive and become big powerhouses, some won't, and they get replaced all the time. But Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin is digital gold, right? But I do see a lot of Bitcoin maxis attacking Ethereum and others, as if they're threatened. It's really not. They're not threatening Bitcoin. They're not even competing. That's why I've never understood that argument, but you see it all the time. Red Rubles, I appreciate that. I do. Let's see. How can anyone still be greedy enough to acquire alts or trust staking? Yeah. Again, TJ Mooney, I think maybe you may be a Bitcoin maxing. You may not understand that what happened with all the CeFi lenders going down actually has really nothing to do with staking at all. Staking is like mining to almost every single project that you see. By staking, you're basically downloading their wallet and locking it in. A lot of them you can unlock immediately, so it's not like you're locked in forever. And you're helping powering the network. You're not loaning it out. You're not doing anything suspicious. And you're rewarded for staking and helping power the network. Just like as a Bitcoin miner or Ethereum miner right now, by helping solve the algorithm, you are rewarded with BTC or ETH, right? That is not being greedy. And as for acquiring alts, well, alts have their purpose. Like I said, it doesn't compete with Bitcoin. I still don't get that argument. So, I mean, Bitcoin is on its own, really. It's its own class. So, let's see. Chef Raph, hey George, just want to say hello. I remember. You used to be in there all the time. I'm glad you're staying strong and you're still here. Sean, you seem to be a harsh movie critic. Not sure what you think about Thor. You know what? I'm not going to spoil it, but after reading all the reviewers, like what they wrote and what they posted, I thought Thor was going to be a horrible movie. In fact, I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It was a silly movie, but I enjoyed it way more than I did Doctor Strange. I thought Doctor Strange was a horrible movie. I had very high expectations for Doctor Strange. But Thor, I thought, okay, it's a silly movie, some really well-played jokes, but other than that, there should have been more deaths. I think that but they try to make it cater to more family and kids and stuff. I thought there should have been more deaths. That's all. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it's not the greatest. If I had to rate it 1 to 10, like probably a 7, like that. Okay, so not like 10, 7. Khan or Kian SC says, you're telling people half the truth. You didn't mention that once proof of stake leads to centralization in the long term. Here's the thing, all right? Here's the thing. And I think you also failed to mention that once upon a time, Bitcoin was controlled, the hash rate was controlled by China too. Over 50% of the mining hash power came from one country. Bitcoin maxis don't mention that, right? They mention about how proof of stake leads to centralization, yet they don't mention that Bitcoin's mining power has been over 50%. At one point in time, it was like 70 or 80%, all within China. And somehow Bitcoin maxis just don't mention that too. There will be, right now, that's why when China kicked out all the miners. I'm like, thank God. That's a great thing for Bitcoin. That actually distributes the hash power, right? Keep in mind, Bitcoin, as big as it is, can still suffer 51% attack. So if there's any one entity out there that has more than 50% of hash rate, they can rewrite whatever transactions they want. So fortunately, Bitcoin being as big as it is, it's almost impossible to do that. But before, could have happened if China took control of all the miners and said, hey, we want to take over, sure. But that's no longer the case, right? So to say that all proof of stake coins are centralized is also BS. So there you go. See, I got all these like Bitcoin maxes in here now, like trying to attack me, thinking that I'm going against Bitcoin, although 90% of my videos are about Bitcoin. See, Bitcoin maxi, this is what I'm talking about. Bitcoin maxis, they feel so threatened by or not, I shouldn't say all, but a lot of Bitcoin maxis feel so threatened about any other altcoin. So then they feel like they have to attack anyone that says anything good about altcoins, right? That's the problem. That's why there's so many people that hate the tribalism in crypto, and I do too, right? But there's no need to be attacking all these altcoins, right? Now, of course, not all altcoins are created equal. Not all of them are good. Obviously, some of them are bad. There's a lot of them bad out there, right? But yeah, if you're a Bitcoin maxi, there's no need to be attacking. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It'll never go away. It's the biggest, and I believe it'll always be the biggest. And it'll never go away. So there's no need to be threatened by the altcoins. They're not even in the same category. But yeah, you still have a lot of people that attack. Rich, thank you. Do you feel BTC adoption will be limited to developing emerging economies, or does it have a place in industrialized countries such as a major fiat alternative? Okay, let me read that again. Do you feel BTC adoption will be limited due to developing emerging economies, or does it have a place in industrialized countries as a major fiat alternative? I think a lot of people would like to see it as a major fiat alternative. I think that's why so many believe in Lightning Network, because they believe that Bitcoin can be a fiat that basically dominates all fiats, or I mean, a currency that dominates all fiats, right? That could be like the currency of Web 3.0 or currency of the internet, right? It could, but I just don't see it that way. For me, I just see Bitcoin more of a store of value. That's how I see it. But of course, if I'm wrong on this and it becomes like the major currency, digital currency that everyone is using, I'll take that. I would love to see that, but I see it more as a store of value. XRP will destroy all coins by 2030. No, no, it won't. My ledger says native SegWit is that normal? Yes, almost everyone has implemented SegWit. Back in 2017, there was still some arguments, some wallet makers, and there's some projects that didn't believe in it. Now everyone has adopted it. Let's see. Saylor's argument is that the change of the protocol is centralized, not that it can or cannot be changed. Ethereum is centralized. Well, so adding SegWit or Taproot is not a change to the protocol? Scooby-Doo? Or did you overlook those things? Or did you not catch those things? Because SegWit was a major change to Bitcoin's protocol. Taproot was a major change to Bitcoin's protocol. So there are changes. So are we going to say that Bitcoin has never seen a change before? Any thoughts on Ultra? No, nothing really. What time of day is it best to DCA? That anytime you want. There's no set time like 1 a.m. Eastern time. That's going to be like the best time to DCA. There's nothing like that. Do you have any idea what the miners will do? Okay, first of all, that's 2140, so you're not going to be around then. And second of all, when there's no more Bitcoin to be mined, they all become node operators. Basically, they're operators, and they still process transactions. And they'll still get fees, rewarded in fees for processing transactions. But you won't be around to see that, so don't worry about it. Kick XRP bulls from this channel. No, it's okay. I like XRP bulls. They're not nasty like some of the other maxis out there. They just like to chime in. Yeah, it's okay. I like that. But there's way too many maxis out there that love to attack because they feel so threatened, and I don't even understand why. Do you ever see the day when there's paper currency or coins that represent sats? No, it doesn't even make any... Oh, are you talking about like fiat? That will be... Okay, basically you're asking if Bitcoin becomes reserve currency of the world. And then fiats will be based on Bitcoin. In the digital world, I could see that. I don't think there'll be paper money distributed based on sats, but... one day if Bitcoin becomes a world currency, reserve currency, that can happen. That can happen. Alts are to help acquire sats, nothing more. There's nothing wrong with that. If you view that viewpoint, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's like saying investing helps acquire more dollars, nothing more. Yeah, that's true. That's true. If you invest in stocks, doesn't matter what company, investing help acquire more money, nothing more. Yeah. And if you want to think alts help you acquire more sats, so be it. It's right. It's right. All right, guys, I'll let you go. Overall, Bitcoin is staying strong this week. Big economic data, right? So let's see what happens this week. As for Michael Saylor and Ethereum, well, Ethereum may turn out to be a security. It could because of its ICO days, right? And that could make a security. But what Michael Saylor was saying about how he thought it was security because of the fact that it could be changed, that it was moving to proof of work, it has hard forks, right? And how all that means that it is a security, that's incorrect because Bitcoin has been changed before. The protocol has been upgraded, and it can continue to be upgraded if everyone votes on it, right? So it's not like that means it's a security. But we will see. The SEC does have this big case against Ripple, And Ripple is trying to use the fact that they already declared Ethereum a commodity, and this is coming back to haunt them, supposedly, right? So we will see what they decide if they make a drastic change and label Ethereum a security now rather than commodity, maybe just to get back at Ripple, just to win the case against Ripple. And that would be really horrible. That's why I don't want to see that happen. I actually want to see Ripple win that lawsuit, because if they win, if the SEC wins, that means they're going to go after a lot more projects, and I don't want to see that. All right, guys, that is it. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow bright and early, 8:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right? Have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.